Chance encounter. The autumn breeze carried notes of a violin through Washington Square Park, drawing passers-by like moths to flame. Olivia Chen's eyes remained closed as her bow danced across strings, her slender fingers finding each note with precision born of 20 years' devotion. The open violin case at her feet contained a few scattered bills, nowhere near enough for the month's rent on her struggling community music school. As the final notes faded, a smattering of applause broke her trance. She smiled at the small crowd, tucking a strand of dark hair behind her ear. "Beautiful," murmured a white-haired woman, dropping a $5 bill into the case. "Thank you," Olivia replied, her smile genuine despite her worries. 6 students had withdrawn this month alone, parents choosing groceries over music lessons in an increasingly expensive neighborhood. Packing up her instrument, Olivia headed toward her favorite cafe. She needed caffeine and quiet to revise her grant applications. Pushing through the door, she inhaled the comforting aroma of espresso. "The usual, Liv?" called Ray from behind the counter. "Please, make it extra strong today." Waiting for her drink, Olivia scrolled through rejection emails on her phone. 3 foundations had declined funding her music school, each citing limited resources and other priorities. She sighed, slipping the phone into her pocket as Ray slid her latte across the counter. "Thanks, The words died as she turned, colliding with a tall figure. Hot coffee splashed across an immaculate charcoal suit, drawing a sharp intake of breath from its wearer. "I'm so sorry." Olivia grabbed napkins, horrified. "Let me help." "Don't." The man's voice was clipped, steel blue eyes flashing with irritation. "You've done enough." Olivia stepped back, apology morphing into indignation. "It was an accident. No need to be rude. This suit costs more than you probably make in a month." He dabbed ineffectually at the stain. "Well, excuse me for not genuflecting before your expensive taste," she retorted. "Some of us have actual problems beyond coffee stains." The cafe had grown quiet, patrons watching their exchange with thinly veiled interest. The man arched an eyebrow, seeming almost amused by her outburst. "Actual problems?" he echoed. "Do enlighten me." Perhaps it was sleep deprivation or the 3rd rejection letter, but Olivia found herself unloading. "My music school is about to fold because arts funding keeps getting slashed. 27 kids from underserved communities will lose their only creative outlet because apparently teaching children to play Mozart isn't as important as another luxury condo development." She realized she was trembling slightly, embarrassed by her outburst but unable to retract it. The man studied her curiously. "Your music school," he repeated. "You own it?" "Founded it 3 years ago, Harmony House on Lafayette Street." Recognition flickered in his eyes. "The converted brownstone with the blue door?" Olivia nodded, surprised. "Marcus Harrington," he said, extending his hand after wiping it clean. "Harrington Ventures." The name registered immediately. Marcus Harrington, venture capitalist with the Midas touch, notorious for his ruthless business strategies and reclusive personal life. What were the odds she'd spill coffee on one of the wealthiest men in the city? "Olivia Chen," she replied, shaking his hand briefly. "And I really am sorry about your suit." Marcus's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "My foundation has an arts initiative. We should talk." Olivia blinked. "Are you serious?" "I never joke about business." He handed her a sleek business card. "My office. Tomorrow at 9. Bring your financials and curriculum outline." Before she could respond, he was gone, leaving. Olivia staring at the card in her hand, wondering if she'd imagined the entire encounter. Ray leaned over the counter. "Did Marcus Harrington just give you his card?" "I think he's offering to help save Harmony House," she murmured incredulously. "The man who made billions in tech investments is interested in your music school?" Ray whistled. "Either you make one hell of an impression, or there's something he wants." Olivia tucked the card carefully into her wallet. Guess I'll find out tomorrow. That night, as rain tapped gently against her apartment windows, Olivia prepared her presentation, wondering what twist of fate had brought Marcus Harrington into her orbit, and whether their chance encounter would prove to be her salvation or her undoing. Reluctant partnership. The Harrington Ventures building loomed over Olivia, all glass and steel reaching toward the clouds. She clutched her worn leather portfolio tighter, feeling decidedly out of place among the sleek professionals streaming through the revolving doors. I have an appointment with Marcus Harrington, she told the receptionist, trying to project confidence she didn't feel. 20 minutes later, Olivia sat across from Marcus in his minimalist office. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city, but his attention remained fixed on her financial statements, his expression unreadable. Your passion is evident, he finally said, setting down the papers. Your business model, however, is unsustainable. Olivia bristled. The model works when funding is consistent. The problem, Marcus interrupted, is that you're running a charity while pretending it's a business. His tone wasn't unkind, merely factual. You charge below market rates for lessons, waive fees for a third of your students, and personally cover expenses when donations fall short. Those children deserve music education regardless of their parents' income, she replied firmly. Something flickered in Marcus's eyes. Respect, perhaps. He leaned back in his chair. Here's my proposal. The Harrington Foundation will provide an initial grant of $100,000 with potential for renewal based on measurable outcomes. In exchange, I'll personally consult on restructuring your organization for long-term viability. Olivia's heart raced. That amount could save Harmony House, pay the outstanding rent, and even expand their instrument library. But personal consultation from Marcus meant surrendering some control. Define measurable outcomes, she said cautiously. Enrollment numbers, student retention, quantifiable skill progression. He ticked off points on his fingers. The usual metrics. Music isn't just about metrics. It's about emotional growth, self-expression, which can still occur within a sustainable framework, Marcus countered. I'm not suggesting you compromise your mission, just your methods. After negotiating terms, Olivia left with a preliminary agreement and mixed feelings. The funding would save Harmony House, but at what cost to its soul? Over the following weeks, Marcus became a fixture at the school, his expensive suit standing out against the colorful, chaotic environment. He installed new accounting software, restructured the schedule to maximize instructor time, and implemented a sliding scale fee system that somehow increased revenue while maintaining accessibility. The changes worked, but tension between them mounted. During a particularly heated discussion about cutting certain programs, Olivia finally exploded. These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. These are children's lives. Children who won't have any programs if this place shuts down, Marcus replied evenly. Sentiment doesn't pay the bills. Their argument was interrupted by a phone call. The mayor's office wanted them to perform at an upcoming fundraiser for arts education. Perfect opportunity for publicity, Marcus said after Olivia hung up. We'll have your best students prepare something impressive. They want us to perform, Olivia clarified. You and me. Together. Marcus froze. That's not possible. Why not? Surely a man of your talents can handle one simple performance, she challenged, suddenly curious about his reaction. The evening of the fundraiser arrived, and Olivia stood backstage in a midnight blue gown, nervously adjusting her violin strings. Marcus appeared beside her in a tuxedo, holding a violin case she hadn't seen before. You actually play, she whispered as they were announced. Once upon a time, he murmured. When they began Vivaldi's Winter, Olivia expected competence from Marcus. What she didn't expect was passion. His technique was slightly rusty, but underpinned by surprising emotional depth. Their duet became A conversation, a dance, challenging and responding to each other in perfect harmony. As the final notes faded into thunderous applause, they stared at each other, both slightly breathless. Something had shifted between them, a new understanding forming in the space where music had momentarily torn down their walls. Later, as donors wrote generous checks for Harmony House, Olivia found Marcus alone on the balcony. "You never mentioned you played like that," she said softly. "There are many things I don't mention." His voice was quiet, his usual armor temporarily absent. "Why did you stop?" He gazed out at the city lights. "Some dreams don't align with certain realities." Before she could press further, he turned to her with the ghost of a smile. "Perhaps we both have something to learn from each other after all." Olivia nodded, suddenly aware of how the moonlight traced the contours of his face, softening his usually sharp features. For the first time, she wondered what other hidden depths lay beneath Marcus Harrington's carefully constructed surface. Hidden melodies. Rain pelted against the windows of Harmony House as Olivia sorted through applications for their new scholarship program. The building was quiet after hours, most instructors and students long gone. Only the distant sound of Marcus typing in her office broke the silence. 3 months into their partnership, the sharp edges of their relationship had softened into something resembling friendship. The school was thriving, enrollment up 30%, and their waiting list growing weekly. "You should go home," Marcus said, appearing in the doorway. "It's nearly 9. Olivia stretched, wincing at her stiff muscles. "I could say the same to you." "Don't billionaires have better things to do on Friday nights?" "Apparently not." He gestured to the papers surrounding her. "Need help?" They worked together quietly, their shoulders occasionally brushing as they sorted applications into piles. Olivia became increasingly aware of his proximity, the subtle scent of his cologne, the way his brow furrowed in concentration. "This one," Marcus said suddenly, holding up an application. "Julian Reyes, 11 years old, excellent academic record, despite significant family challenges." Olivia read over the recommendation letter from Julian's teacher. "Top of the wait list, then." "Actually, I'd like to personally sponsor him." Marcus's voice was casual, but Olivia detected something deeper. "Why him specifically?" Marcus hesitated, then opened his wallet and extracted a faded photo of a young boy holding a violin nearly as big as himself. "You?" Olivia asked softly. He nodded. "Music was my first love before finance. My teacher saw potential, convinced my parents to invest in lessons despite our limited means." His voice grew distant. "When he died suddenly, there was no replacement in our neighborhood. My father considered it a sign that I should focus on practical pursuits instead." "So you stopped playing?" "Just like that?" "Not immediately. I practiced in secret through high school, even earned a music scholarship to college." His smile held no warmth. "Then my father fell ill. Medical bills mounted. I transferred to business school, interned at an investment firm, and never looked back." "Until our duet," Olivia reminded him. "Until our duet," he acknowledged quietly. The following Sunday, Marcus invited Olivia to accompany him to Connecticut to meet a potential major donor. The drive began in comfortable silence, but gradually Olivia found herself sharing stories of her own family's complex relationship with her musical ambitions. "My parents wanted security for me," she explained as rolling countryside replaced urban sprawl. "They immigrated with nothing, worked themselves to exhaustion for my opportunities. When I chose music over law school, they didn't speak to me for months. And now, they're coming around, slowly." She smiled wistfully. "My mother actually asked for tickets to our next student showcase." The donor meeting went well, but as they prepared to leave, storm clouds gathered. Halfway back to the city, the skies opened. Rain became a deluge, visibility dropping to near zero. "We should wait it out," Marcus decided, turning onto a side road that led to a small lake. He parked near a white gazebo overlooking the water. They made a dash for shelter, arriving soaked despite the short distance. Olivia laughed, wringing water from her hair. So much for professional impressions. In the confined space of the gazebo, their usual careful distance evaporated. Olivia noticed water droplets clinging to Marcus's eyelashes, the way his wet shirt revealed the contours of his chest. "You're shivering," he observed, shrugging off his jacket and draping it over her shoulders despite his own damp state. "Thank you," she murmured, suddenly very aware of his hands lingering on her shoulders. "Olivia," he said softly, her name sounding different somehow in his voice. Lightning illuminated his face, and Olivia saw something there she'd never seen before: vulnerability, desire, and a question. She answered by closing the distance between them. Their first kiss was tentative, a gentle exploration. The second was not. His arms encircled her waist, pulling her against him as the storm raged around their shelter. Her hands found their way to his chest, feeling his heartbeat quicken beneath her fingertips. When they finally broke apart, breathless, reality seemed to crash back. Marcus stepped away, his expression closing like a door shutting. "We should get back," he said, voice carefully neutral. "The rain is letting up." The drive back to the city was filled with charged silence, both pretending the moment in the gazebo hadn't altered everything between them. "This was unprofessional," Marcus finally said as they neared New York. "I apologize." "Don't," Olivia replied, staring out the window. "Don't reduce it to a professional misstep." He gripped the steering wheel tighter. "What would you call it then?" "Inevitable," she answered simply. As he pulled up to her apartment building, neither seemed to know how to say goodnight. Marcus stayed in the car, engine running. "See you Monday?" she asked, her hand on the door handle. He nodded once, his expression unreadable in the dim light. Olivia stepped out into the gentle aftermath of the storm, wondering if what had broken between them could ever be repaired, or if something new and unexpected might grow in its place. Dissonance. The fundraising gala for Harmony House was in full swing. Fairy lights transformed the school's main practice room into an elegant venue, with New York's elite mingling among displayed student artwork and instrument displays. Olivia moved through the crowd in a deep emerald gown, making small talk with donors, but her eyes repeatedly drifted to Marcus across the room. In the 3 weeks since the gazebo, they'd maintained a careful professional distance. The kiss remained unacknowledged, though its ghost lingered in every interaction. A glance held too long, fingers brushing during document exchanges, the sudden tension when they found themselves alone. "Impressive turnout," came a smooth voice beside her. Olivia turned to find a woman in a sleek pantsuit extending her hand. "Vanessa Winters, Winters Development Group." "Thank you for coming," Olivia replied, shaking her hand, "though I don't recall seeing your name on our guest list." Vanessa smiled, the expression not reaching her eyes. "I'm more of a spontaneous supporter. Your little school has caught my attention." Something in her tone put Olivia on alert. "How so?" "This building sits on prime real estate. My company is prepared to make a very generous offer, one that would allow you to relocate to a purpose-built facility in the Bronx." Olivia stiffened. "Harmony House isn't for sale." "Everything has a price," Vanessa countered, handing her a business card. "Especially when facing the financial challenges you've experienced. The numbers on the back represent our preliminary offer." Olivia glanced at the figure and nearly dropped her champagne flute. It was astronomical, enough to build a music palace and fund operations for years. "Additionally," Vanessa continued, "we would create a position for you at Juilliard's community outreach program. Your talents are wasted in administration." Before Olivia could respond, Marcus appeared at her side, his hand settling lightly on her lower back. "Ms. Winters," he said coolly, "I wasn't aware you'd been invited." "Just introducing myself to your protégé," Vanessa replied with a knowing smile. "Consider our offer, Miss Chen. It expires in 2 weeks." With that, she glided away into the crowd. "You know her?" Olivia asked quietly. "We've crossed paths in business circles," Marcus replied, his expression guarded. "What offer?" Later, in the quiet of her office, Olivia explained Winter's proposal. Marcus paced by the window, his reflection fragmenting in the rain-speckled glass. "It's actually not a bad deal," he finally said, turning to face her. Olivia stared at him in disbelief. "You can't be serious." "This building is the heart of what we do. The location is accessible to all our students." The Bronx location would be accessible too and purpose-built for music education, Marcus argued. Financially, it makes sense. Since when is everything about financial sense? Olivia stood, anger rising. This neighborhood has embraced us. Our students can walk here after school. Parents feel safe sending their children here. You're being emotional rather than practical, Marcus said, his voice frustratingly calm. Let me counter with a compromise. We sell this building but negotiate for mixed-use development. Harmony House gets the ground floor at a reduced rate. Winters gets her luxury condos above. Olivia shook her head slowly, a hollow feeling expanding in her chest. You knew about this offer before tonight, didn't you? His hesitation was answer enough. All this time, she said quietly. I thought you believed in what we were building here. But you're just like the rest, seeing dollar signs where I see children's futures. That's not fair, Olivia. Isn't it? Her voice cracked slightly. I let you into this school, into my life. I thought what happened between us meant something. Marcus stepped toward her, his expression softening. It did. It does. She moved away, creating distance. I think you should go. Olivia, please. She wouldn't let him see her cry. Just go. After he left, Olivia sank into her chair, clutching Vanessa's card. The figure still shocked her, but now it felt tainted. She stared at the framed photo on her desk, her first group of students, beaming after their inaugural recital in this very building. This wasn't just real estate. It was home. Perfect Harmony Marcus stood in his penthouse, staring at the city lights blurring through the rain-streaked window. Sleep had become elusive, his thoughts perpetually returning to Olivia, her passionate defense of Harmony House, the hurt in her eyes when he'd suggested compromise, the emptiness he'd felt in her absence these past weeks. His phone buzzed with a message from his attorney. Winters filed accelerated petition. Hearing moved up. Tuesday, 3 days. Their legal maneuvers were failing, outpaced by Vanessa Winters' political connections. Marcus loosened his tie, feeling the walls closing in. He'd failed Olivia, failed the school, failed himself. His gaze drifted to the violin case gathering dust in the corner, the one remnant of his former self he'd never been able to discard. A thought began to form. By dawn, he'd made dozens of calls, calling in favors from contacts across his vast network. By noon, he had the outline of a plan. By evening, he'd arranged a meeting with Vanessa Winters herself. This better be worth interrupting my dinner. Harrington, Vanessa said, sliding into the private dining room of an exclusive restaurant. Marcus pushed a folder across the table. A proposition. Vanessa scanned the contents, her eyebrows rising incrementally. You're offering to buy the development rights yourself? At a premium? She looked up, suspicious. What's your angle? No angle. Simple business. Your company gets profit without the PR headache of shutting down a beloved community institution. And you get what? The warm fuzzies of saving some underprivileged kids' music lessons? She laughed. That's not the Marcus Harrington I know. Perhaps you never knew me at all, he replied evenly. After she left with a signed agreement, Marcus made one final call to the director of the city's Community Arts Initiative. It's time. Set everything up for Sunday. Olivia sat in her apartment surrounded by legal documents and community petitions, rubbing her tired eyes. The hearing was in 2 days, and their chances seemed increasingly bleak. Her phone had been conspicuously silent. No calls from Marcus in 3 days. A knock at her door revealed Ray from the cafe, holding an envelope. Some suit asked me to deliver this, he explained with a shrug. Inside was an invitation to a special community concert at Washington Square Park, Sunday at sunset. The elegant card bore no signature, but Olivia recognized Marcus's preferred stationery. Curiosity overcame her reluctance. Sunday evening found her standing at the park's edge, where a makeshift stage had been erected. A substantial crowd had gathered, students from Harmony House, their families, community members, and surprisingly, several city officials. As twilight descended, Marcus walked onto the stage alone, violin in hand. The murmuring crowd fell silent. I'm not one for public speeches, he began, his voice carrying across the hushed park. I've spent my life speaking through numbers and contracts, but some things can't be expressed that way. He lifted his violin. This is for someone who reminded me that what makes life worth living can't be quantified or compromised. The piece began softly, a melody Olivia had never heard, yet somehow felt she recognized. It spoke of longing, of possibility, of regret and hope intertwined. Marcus played with his eyes closed, each note a confession, each phrase a promise. When the final note faded, he opened his eyes, finding Olivia in the crowd. "I wrote that for you," he said simply, the microphone carrying his words. "It's called Unexpected Harmony." He gestured to someone off stage, and the city's arts director stepped forward with a large display board. "I've established a public-private partnership that will preserve Harmony House in its current location while creating an expanded community arts center in the adjacent lot. The Harrington Foundation is providing initial funding of $5 million, with matching grants from these corporate sponsors." Gasps rippled through the crowd as logos of major companies appeared on screens flanking the stage. "Additionally," Marcus continued, "the city has agreed to designate the building as a protected cultural landmark, ensuring its permanence." Applause erupted, but Marcus wasn't finished. He stepped from the stage, walking directly to where Olivia stood frozen in disbelief. "I've spent my life calculating risks," he said, now speaking only to her despite the watching crowd. "Measuring returns, avoiding vulnerability." He took her hands in his. "But the greatest risk would be losing you." "I compromised when I should have fought." "I spoke of practicality when I should have acknowledged what was in my heart." Tears blurred Olivia's vision. "You did all this for the school," he finished. "For the children who deserve what I lost, and for you. Because you showed me that the most valuable things can't be bought or sold." "The piece you played," she whispered. "When did you write it?" "The night after the gazebo," he admitted. "When I realized I was falling in love with you." Olivia's hand trembled as she reached up to touch his face. "I thought I'd lost both the school and you." "Never," he promised, drawing her closer. "Though I may need music lessons to keep up with you." Their kiss was witnessed by applauding students, cheering parents, and one very irritated real estate developer exiting the park. Neither noticed, too absorbed in their rediscovered harmony. 6 months later, Harmony House had doubled its enrollment. The expanded facility included recording studios, performance spaces, and classrooms for every musical discipline imaginable. In the original building, Olivia adjusted a student's finger positioning on violin strings, while Marcus observed from the doorway, smiling at her patient instruction. "Better," she encouraged the young boy, Julian Reyes, Marcus's personal scholarship recipient. "Practice that passage for Thursday." As Julian packed up his instrument, Marcus entered, placing a gentle hand on Olivia's waist. "Ready for the board meeting?" "Almost," she replied, leaning into his touch. "Have you finished your part of the presentation?" "Of course." He kissed her temple. "I'm very efficient, Ms. Chen." "So I've noticed, Mr. Harrington." She turned in his arms. "Though you do have your spontaneous moments." Their partnership, both professional and personal, had found its rhythm, neither compromising their essence but each enhancing the other. The school thrived, becoming a model for arts education nationwide. Their relationship deepened, built on mutual respect and the shared language of music they discovered together. Later that evening, in the quiet of the apartment they now shared, Marcus played his composition for Olivia again. While she accompanied him with harmonies she'd written to complement his melody, the piece had evolved, just as they had, two distinct voices creating something greater than either could achieve alone. Outside, the city continued its chaotic symphony, but within their home, Marcus and Olivia had found perfect harmony, an unexpected duet neither had imagined possible, yet now couldn't imagine life without.